Welcome to the regular meeting of the Washington Township Board of Trustees, October 2nd, 2019. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. KB, roll call.
Boshiers is here. Jacobson? Here. Nicely.
Here.
O'Leary?
Here.
Babinski?
Here.
Kopp?
Here.
And Praviti.
Here.
All present. You see before you the agenda. I do have a change. It's item 9.5. I'd like to have the reappointment of ZBA's officials. Is there any other changes?
Move approval with change. Support.
Motion by Kathy, supported by Abby. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. You see before you the consent agenda. We're being asked to approve the accounts payable as of October 2nd, approve the minutes of the Board of Trustee meeting for September 18th, accept the Building Department, Treasurer, and Fire Department monthly reports for August.
So moved. Support.
Motion by Stan, supported by Gary. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item is Romeo Schools Superintendent update. Todd, you want to step up and give your name, rank, and serial number? You probably could do that.
Yes. So thank you and welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to have a few minutes to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on in Romeo Community Schools. I want to take the opportunity first to thank all the members of the board that were with us last Thursday at the grand opening. We had great support from the Township, both in our residents and the board, and that it was a pretty awesome night, you know, and I was pretty anxious about it, planning it and doing all that, but I think it went off really well. So thank you for your support of that. We're excited about the new building. We're navigating and we're coordinating on a lot of issues, traffic and things like that, but we're continuing to fix things on our end with the flow of buses and students and that, and we think we're down to a system right now that has us in the best place we can be, and then our work in between the township and the village and the county to try and get some signal support in that, I think will be coming in the future. So outside of that, we're also planning for the second series of the 2016 bond, and some of those design and things, that's extra work at our elementaries and the Powell facility of that's going into the design phase. The work on 32 Mile to convert that old high school building to the new middle school went out to bid in the last month, and the pool renovation also will be going out to bid prior to the end of this calendar year. So all of that work starts in November. We'll ramp up with the pool work in March, and it's all aimed to be completed by the start of school next year, and that'll be our one middle school. And we'll do another dedication because I'm just getting better at planning those type of events. So the other thing that I just wanted to take a couple minutes is the district does have a couple proposals on the November ballot, and part of my job at superintendent is to get out as much as I can to the public to just inform people of what they are and the impact that they might have, and then hope that our voters are informed. And from that place, you can make your decision whether you're voting at the polls on November 5th or prior. So I got a couple slides tonight. We continue to thank our community. We've had tremendous support, and with the support of our community, we like to think we have some great momentum going in Romeo Community Schools. Today was count day, and I will tell you initial returns from count day, which goes through an extensive auditing procedure at the ISD, shows that our enrollment is up a little bit, so we're encouraged by that because we're coming off about a 7-year period of declining enrollment. So we think that's a combination of a little bit of residential growth and also the good work that we're doing, that we're bringing kids in. So the district has two proposals on the November 5th ballot. The first is a 5-year building and site sinking fund renewal, and the second is a non-homestead millage renewal and restoration. The election is about continuing the safety and security of our children, ongoing repairs to our school facilities, scheduled upgrading of instructional technology, and then maintaining about 14% of our operating budget that comes from the non-homestead millage. Proposal 1 is a building and site sinking fund millage renewal. That's a 5-year, 1.25 mil proposal to continue providing revenue for the repair of our school buildings and now the upgrading of instructional technology. In 2017, there were some changes in the sinking fund law that allowed districts to also use those funds to purchase instructional technology and do safety and security improvements. So back in 2014, the district passed a technology bond that allowed us to go to a one-to-one initiative that has all of our students from kindergarten to 12th grade have their own device, whether that be a Chromebook or an iPad. We know when we go out and buy those devices ourselves that the minute we walk out the store, they start to become a bit outdated. So we're able to get a good 4 or 5 years out of a device. But what we're grateful for is with the expanded use of sinking fund dollars, we don't feel the need to come back, that we will need to come back to the voters for another tech bond. We believe that we can use the sinking fund millage funds to help support our instructional technology needs. So this is a renewal. We talked about the purpose. We use a lot of this money for ongoing repairs and facility updates. We'll include some of those technology needs. And these are things that cannot be accommodated with our general operating budget. The most important thing that I think most of you would want to know is what does that mean for your taxes? If the sinking fund renewal is approved by Romeo voters, the current tax rate does not change. It is the same tax rate that the voters approved in 2014. So no change to our primary homeowners with the renewal of this millage that's been in place, I believe, for over 8 years. Proposal number 2 is a non-homestead millage, renewal and restoration, and the primary purpose of this is to assure that we receive the full amount of funding permitted by state law, and that's 18 mills. That's what the law has dictated since Proposal A went into place in the 90s. We get 18 mills of our funding from non-homestead properties, that's businesses and second homes. Second homes in our community are primarily rental homes. So this tax is levied on businesses and second homes. It is not levied on primary residents. However, the registered voters in a community have to vote for this to be levied on non-homestead properties. As I mentioned earlier, this generates about 14% of our $52 million budget. So it is an important part of our funding, and the board has made the decision last June to just simply restore this to what's allowable by law, because we believe our children are entitled to this money by law from our non-homestead properties. So this millage does not technically expire until 2022, but because of the Headley rollback legislation and the transfer of properties within the school district, we have been subject to a Headley rollback that's been happening. This is the 3rd year, and we have now fallen below the 18 mills, and we're just simply trying to restore the millage so that we can get 18 mills until it expires in 2022, when we'd have to come back out to the voters again. Again, the non-homestead renewal and restoration will not affect the tax rate of a homeowner's primary residence in Romeo Community Schools. So in this election, voters can make one of 3 decisions: vote yes, vote no, or don't vote. And what I'm advocating for is that you exercise your constitutional right and vote. And that has gotten a little bit easier in the state of Michigan recently. You can certainly vote on November 5th at your regular polling location, or you can vote after September 21st. And I know the first round of absentee ballots, I think, have hit voters' mailboxes in the last 2 days from some of the municipalities. So in this election, you no longer need to have a reason to vote absentee. Any registered voter can cast an absentee ballot after September 21st just simply by filling out that application and sending it in to your local clerk. Proposal 3 of 2018 made these changes. They called this portion of that legislation the Vote at Home initiative. So from the convenience of your home and not battling tri-county traffic or weather, sometimes maybe more of a winter election than November, but we never know in Michigan, we're just encouraging as many people to take advantage of this change in the legislation and vote absentee. Election information, we have a variety of places where you can get information about our two proposals. You'll see some of these lobby signs if you're in any of our facilities that gives a little bit of an overview of each of the proposals. And it also talks about some of the projects that will happen if the sinking fund is renewed. I will tell you that we did an extensive facilities assessment last spring that has 4 tiers of projects based on the age of our facilities. We are right now talking about Tier 1 projects with this renewal. It includes things like boilers, parking lots, heating and cooling controls, roofing, ceilings, things like that. They're not the flashiest things that we do, but our general fund doesn't have the money to take care of these facility needs, so that's primarily what would happen with the renewal of the sinking fund for another 5 years. There's a lot of information on our website. If you go to RomeoK12.org and you click on that information icon that you'll see in the top left of any page that you go to, that's going to take you to a page that looks like this, that we continue to just add things that we're doing, whether that be through social media, mail, or print, so that you could go back and look at anything that's been put out. We have the original press release, a comprehensive frequently asked questions document. There's information on the absentee voting change. We actually just recently uploaded the contact information for the 9 clerk offices that are represented within Romeo Community Schools. That was some learning for me, that we actually have students that come from 9 different clerk offices. There's an open letter to Romeo school voters that went out a couple weeks ago that you can see. And then I've also done a couple of videos, interviews with some of our local media outlets that you could watch those as well if you want. I think the most important thing, or the easiest summary of our proposals, is what we call our fact card. I brought some of those tonight, and I'll leave them on the table if you want to grab one of those. I'm also hopeful to leave the extra to just have here available in the Township office. If for some reason those go, we have more, and I'd be happy to bring more down. This gives, I think, a simple summary. It's got my contact information, because ultimately, if you have questions that haven't been asked, I'm the guy that you call or email, and I'll get you answers as quick as I can. You can also contact our building principals if you're connected to one of our schools. They have the background on the election and can answer a lot of questions. So that's my contact information. You're able to reach me through the district website, but give me a call. I typically will get back to you the same day. Most of the questions I can answer. A lot of them are in the frequently asked questions document. My goal is just to make sure we get the information out, so before people complete that absentee ballot or they go to the polls on November 5th, they have the information they need to cast their vote. That's all I have.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Any board members have any questions for Mr. Robinson?
Thank you again for your support. Thanks for the time.
Thanks,
Thank you. Appreciate your time. All right, next item on the agenda is legal counsel. Bob, anything?
No.
Next item is old business, public hearing for the spread of the assessment for the Northeast Sanitary Sewer SAD for the west side of the street.
I'd like to make a request, please.
Please.
I have property that is involved in this SAD, so I would like to request that I abstain from participating.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that Abby be recused from participating in this discussion and voting.
Support.
Motion by me, supported by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, so in your packet is the spread, from our assessor, her best estimate at trying to figure out how to spread this by the properties on Van Dyke.
Which one do you want?
And she is recommending to us the cost per acre approach. You got the memo there?
It's in your
Way of looking
packet,
at It's
Dan.
harder than looking at it on paper. I guess I would ask the board to give me your thoughts or motions.
Are you going to open the public hearing first? Yeah?
Do you want to, yeah, let's have a discussion within the public hearing. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Gary.
Support.
Supported by Stan. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Board. You see before you the various methods. You got the properties listed down here. You got the total acres that are being assessed, the cost per acre. And her recommendation,
26,756
It is a per acre, per acre,
per acre.
per acre distribution. It's on the very bottom.
you'll see as you go through there. There it is. Yep, the per acre, that's what I was referring to. You'll notice there's a couple of properties left out. Village of Romeo's well, for instance, because, right behind the Romeo Rock. Hard to argue at this time that it gets a benefit from the sewer. So, and then DTE Fields and Armand and hey, Mike, in case the board has any other thoughts or questions, can you come up and help us with any clarifications?
Yeah, I will point out, if you turn to the second page, the Shire Vista Springs condominium, just so you can understand the math that was done there. That's before that property was developed, it was a total of 14.22 acres. It's a six-unit condo. So that property has general common elements of a boulevard road that runs down the middle of it, as well as detention and open space in the back. The assessor took the areas of those items and spread them evenly in terms of acreage and assigned those acreages to the 6 individual units based on their percentage of the entire parcel. So everything still had to add up to that 14.22 acres, which you see it does. Everyone proportionally shares based on the benefit that the road is there as well as the detention basins. Because obviously all these other sites have parking lots, they have roads. You can't carve that stuff out.
That's the one in the green, correct?
That's the one in the green, yes. And then you'll see the 6 parcels that are directly below that are those splits.
Questions or comments? Would the board entertain going out to the audience to see if any interested audience members have any questions or comments on this? Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments on this particular agenda item? Public hearing, your chance to speak. Seeing none, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Kathy, supported by Stan. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Anyone want to make another motion?
Your next action would be there's resolution number 5 that's in your packet. If you go through it, it's, the special assessment roll is in the amount of $5,615,219.64. The board has to decide in this resolution how many equal annual installments, when the first installment is due, what the interest rate is on it, and when the first date of payment is.
Mike, what's the recommended interest rate?
3%, December of 2020.
For the first payment?
Would this be completed, Mike, by that time, or when is the completion date on this?
Construction will be complete by well before December 2020.
So how about July then?
It'll be done by July 12th.
By July 12th of next year?
No, as well.
Specifically July 12th?
Okay. I thought you said July 12th, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So the first installment is due July 1st?
First.
And due on July 1st of,
2020.
but each following year, July
Yes.
1st, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
And installments shall bear interest commencing on? Same date?
Yeah, same date. Yes, I'm sorry.
And how many equal installments? How long is the assessment for?
I think 20 years is a reasonable sewer pipe assessment. Mike, do you disagree?
Nope, that's what we did for the east as well.
Yep. That was the same percentage for the east as well, too, so we're on board with that, too.
I'll make the motion to adopt the resolution.
Support.
Motion by Kathy, supported by Gary. Any questions or comments from the board? Roll call?
Boshiers is a yes. Kopp.
Yes.
Praviti.
Yes.
Babinski.
Yes.
O'Leary.
Yes.
Nicely.
Yes.
That's all.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to award the contract for the 26-mile road pump station replacement. Mike, you don't get away too easily.
You have a couple letters with you, but the first is to award a contract, a recommendation to award a contract to Body Construction. Kathy now knows how to say.
Yes, I do.
We got a total of 5 bids for this project. This is the 26-mile road pump station replacement. Recall that we will be completely removing and replacing the existing station at the corner, northwest corner of Hayes and 26-mile road. That's the station that handles, as of today, all of your current sanitary flow and pumps it underneath the middle branch of the Clinton River and into the county system. It's the original station that was built in 1978. It's older than me. And it is in need of replacement in terms of both maintenance and obviously capacity. As the township continues to grow, we want to replace it with a station that can grow with the township. So this station will have the same rated capacity as the current station does. Obviously brand new pumps and all new electrical components connected to your SCADA system. But over time, at a very much more reasonable cost, we can upgrade those pumps as downstream capacity becomes available without doing anything else really to the station. Very minor changes can be made as that capacity increases and as it's needed. So like we said, we got 5 bids. The low bidder was below the original estimate that we brought to you, which is great. We're recommending that we approve that contract to Body Construction with our standard 10% contingency. That would be managed by the Water and Sewer Committee as always, and the total numbers are there in our letter. We did contact Body's references. Everyone spoke very highly of them. They've done projects very similar to this. This is a very tight site. I don't know how many people are familiar with that, but we do have where the existing station is located, there is a easement that was granted by the Orchard Brook development, the apartments there at the corner. But everything kind of has to occur within that area. So it'll be tight. They have to keep a clean site. They have to stay out of the way of the Orchard Brook contractors. That work will be going on at the same time. And Orchard Brook, as a part of the consent judgment that was negotiated by the township, will be constructing a maintenance garage on that small little parcel that can be used by DPW to service the pumps, just do general maintenance at the station, keep out of the weather. So that building will match what's in Orchard Brook. It's going to be very attractive. There'll be a nice ornamental fence around the site with landscaping. It's going to be a very good-looking station compared to what's there today.
Yeah.
No offense to Rich.
Start date and completion date, do you know?
We met with them. They were actually at the Orchard Brook pre-construction meeting we had earlier this week. They anticipate they'll be out there around January. They have just under a year to complete it. They don't think it'll take them that long, but based on weather and just working with the development that it's surrounded by, we wanted to make sure we gave them enough time. So,
Is the township or residents in any danger in case that thing goes down during construction or during the springtime, during the falls?
So what happens is the existing station will stay in place the entire time of construction. There'll be a small changeover period of probably a week or two when we actually switch over, where there'll be some bypass pumping that occurs to kind of we are reusing just one component of the, I guess I would call it where the flow comes in before it gets to the actual station. That component will be reused and converted just into a manhole. But residents, users of the system won't see anything.
We don't have to flush our water once it's hooked
There'll
up?
be no alerts about flood. Everything can go on as normal, so.
Okay.
And this one's been on the agenda for multiple years now. We've gone back and forth waiting for all kinds of signals the county would do things that would cause us to act differently in this case, and we're not getting any signals that anything is going to change, and at this point, this is the right project to do. You know, there's some talk about the county making some major assessments and changes to improve sewer capacity coming up to 26 Mile, and that potentially could change all this, but it would result in massive increases to our sewer bills, which we're simply not going to participate in. At this point, you know, we'll look at other options with the county. They've been working with us to come up with solutions, and we'll look at other options. But at this point in time, this is the right thing to do. We've been putting it off long enough. The station is tired and needs to be replaced. So the sewer committee is aware of this and supportive of it, and we are asking for your approval.
And it was budgeted, I believe, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
We are under that budget.
I'll make the motion to award the contract for the 26 Mile Road Pump Station project to
Body.
You would have to be at the bid openings to appreciate that. Body Construction Company in the amount of $1,394,520. As usual, execution of a formal agreement with the contractor is contingent upon the township receiving all the final insurance, bonding, and other contractual requirements. We also ask for a 10% contingency to be managed by the Water and Sewer Committee.
Support.
Motion by Kathy, supported by Abby. Questions before we vote?
So the total is $1,533,972 with the contingency.
That's correct,
Yes.
there's a 10% on it,
Yes,
that's
yeah.
correct.
Okay.
Roll call.
He didn't do that math in his head, I want you to know that. I did that math, and that's on his paper. I just want you all to understand that. Don't be that impressed by him. That's good, Mike.
Oh, but I did catch a mistake in that one, but I didn't.
All right, Boshiers is a yes. Jacobson?
Yes.
Nicely?
Yes.
O'Leary?
Yes.
Babinski?
Yes.
Cop?
Yes.
And Praviti?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is, oh, sorry.
Too fast.
There is the other component, which is
Yes.
the engineering. You want to explain that, Mike?
Whose do you want?
I can help him.
I can, but you go ahead.
This is for the, basically the engineering support for the project. And just as we did with the one last board meeting, we're going to ask the board to approve construction services from Giffords Webster for construction staking, material testing, and as-built tonight. And that's in a fee according to their contract of $34,488. We are working with Giffords right now when it comes to inspection administration fees. They do have that in the contract, but we do have some of our own inspection that's going to go on these projects. We'll bring both of those back to the board at probably the next meeting. So I'm going to ask you to approve $34,488 in construction services fees to Giffords Webster.
Support?
Motion by Kathy, supported by Stan. Any questions? Roll call.
Boshiers is a yes. Babinski?
Yes.
Cop?
Yes.
Praviti?
Yes.
O'Leary?
Yes.
Nicely?
Yes.
And Jacobson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Mike.
Next item on the agenda is the extension of the single waste hauler contract. KB, you want to handle this one?
In the waste hauler contract that we signed in 2014 with Rizzo, now GFL, there was two extensions that were built into it. One is a 2-year and one is a 1-year. In the contract extension, you pay the exact same price for 8 years of the contract. So we are asking the board right now to extend this for another 2-year performance period at the exact same rates and performance that they have right now. I think Don Beretta is here from GFL if there's any questions. Supervisor O'Leary has brought in many times that we've had some issues. We think the issues are improving. We now have a route supervisor that's in the township every day of the week driving behind the trucks. We think most of those residents' complaints and concerns are handled rather efficiently. We still think there's some improvements that are required in the customer call center. Anything else, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I've told the board repeatedly, I'm not happy with the GFL service. I have spent some time with the other major provider in the area. They would not result, they've been very clear that if we selected them, they would not give us a cost savings. In fact, the cost would go up. And it's their view that GFL is struggling with service issues, which they are, because their prices are set so low that they're not attracting the right people. And they've made it clear to me that they are unable to beat that price without their service going in the same direction. They also don't think that they could take it over in the time frame that we have, and, you know, they want our business, but they want to be clear that the price would go up, and it would probably take a year before they could do it. So an extension may make sense. I'm morally opposed, because I really think GFL owes us a much better level of service than they do. Things are getting better, but they're not great. And, but practically speaking, we're not likely to see any cost savings by going to someone else. So that's the story I got from talking to the competitor.
And the rates are unchanged for the residents for the next 2 years, correct?
Under the GFL contract, the rates stay the same. It would be the, what, fourth and fifth year without an increase, or fifth?
The entire contract was negotiated without an increase, so this would be this would be the sixth and seventh year without an increase.
So we will stay on, if this is voted for, we will stay on Giffords on their service issues.
No, GFL.
All right, Giffords. Okay. Sorry, dude. We'll yell at somebody, whether it's Giffords or GFL. Any other comments, concerns?
I, for one, am a user, and to date, we've not had an issue with them. And they have the, if you pay, what was it, 1 year in advance, you get to take 1 month off, so I think that's an advantage, and I'm perfectly satisfied with them. So I know you've had issues, but then you're looking at the entire township as opposed to me looking at just my garbage can in front of my house, so I'm perfectly happy with them.
Yeah, I've never personally had issues. I just take the calls from the residents.
Right.
So.
And they do provide the nice shredding services in the spring and summer and fall, and the recyclable electronics once a year. So that
Twice a year, too,
Oh, twice a year, thank you,
Yep.
for the residents.
Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to extend the contract for 2 years.
I'll support.
Motion by Kathy, supported by Stan. Any further questions by the board? Roll call.
Boshiers is a yes. Babinski?
Yes.
Providi?
Yes.
Kopp?
Yes.
O'Leary?
No on principle.
Nicely?
Yes.
And Jacobson?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to accept the donation for the fire department. Is Laura here? Laura? Chuglin?
Chief's here.
Can't see. Okay.
Chief's here.
Chief's here. Chief, you want to, you know about this one, right?
Let me spit my gum out and come up
There
with
you go.
the podium. Wasn't prepared. Clerk Boshiers, long story short, Giving Hands Foundation had generously given us a check for $1,000 earmarked for an opioid intervention or something that we could use to combat that problem. The clerk has in her possession the check for $1,000. We need, excuse me, board approval to accept that and formally deposit it. I can tell you that we're looking at purchasing an O2 adjunct, if you will, that will help us improve our outcomes on CPR type of calls. Long story short.
Okay.
You're going to purchase 8 of them out of the gift, and the name of the organization is Helping Hands, and we'd like to thank them very much for this donation. So I would make the motion to accept the donation.
Support.
Motion by Kathy, supported by Abby. Questions? Roll call?
Boshiers is a yes. Jacobson?
Yes.
Nicely?
Yes.
O'Leary?
Yes.
Kopp?
Yes.
Babinski?
Yes.
And Providi?
Yes. Thank you.
Motion carries. Next item is to approve the contract for demolition of the Mound Road houses.
So we went out to bid for the demolition of the two houses and all the other structures at the corner of 28 Mile and Mound, the location of new fire station number 3. We received 6 bids ranging from $49,985 to $156,000. We've finished the due diligence on the bidders, and we'd like to recommend that it be awarded to EarthCon. But I would tell you, we are still working through basically permitting and insurances, fees back to the construction manager and things like that. It takes us 10 days to get clearance through the state of Michigan in order to start this process. So I'm going to ask the board to allow us to enter into the contract with EarthCon and give the Finance Committee the ability to negotiate through the rest of the fees. And I will bring that back to the board at the next board meeting, what that price is. If it's
Yeah,
something that doesn't seem reasonable, we will come back to you before we do anything.
And I appreciate that approach, because houses need to go. The fire department, in case anyone here lives in that area, the fire department has been practicing on those homes, which means there's holes in the roofs, and they've cut holes in the walls and stuff because they're practicing for fires. And I think they've just about made them Swiss cheese, so we'd like to get them out of the way before anybody notices them, and the leaves are gone on the trees, and then it becomes obvious to the neighbors that it's, they're kind of carved up, so. Sooner the better. So was that a motion by you?
It is.
Supported by me. Any questions? Roll call.
Boshiers is a yes. O'Leary?
Yes.
Nicely?
Yes.
Jacobson?
Yes.
Babinski?
Yes.
Praviti?
Yes.
And Kopp?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Can I just do one other thing about fire, just since we're talking about that? Is it okay to say where we are in the fire station? I'd like the board to know, we have continued to meet with the engineer, architect, and as well as the construction manager. The Finance Committee and Fire Committee will be updated this week, but we're to the point where we have the right price, the right design. And Chief, I hate to put you on the spot, but we're ready to go with the design and the price of the fire station, correct? Fire station number 3.
Correct.
So we're bringing that back to the board, but we're getting ready to go out to bid. We're at 3.3 million for the fire station.
swag.
About, that's where we're at. So we got the right price estimate, cost estimate.
Okay. Next item is the potential sale of property. We have an offer from the Mosheri companies. Met with them a couple of times in the last few weeks. And George Adams is here today as well, who's working with them. And long and short, they are aware of our 55 acres that is directly south of Total Soccer, and they would like to acquire it. They intend to do a multi-use PUD kind of a development. They are offering for the 55 acres, $4,125,000, subject to getting the PUD approved and us completing the internal ring road. And
What's the total cost per acreage on that?
75,000.
before cost, yes.
Before costs, yeah.
It's a great offer, better than what we're purchasing Total Soccer's land for. But we have a couple of issues. One is we need to make sure that this PUD is truly within our intent for that area, right? I mean, our vision of that area is that we have industrial over towards M53, and as you move east, you get into the hotel, retail, restaurants, and then you might have senior living or something towards the end. But we need to make sure that this concept he's proposing is consistent with that. And we also, depending on the November 5th vote, the Unicorn Project, I've been trying to convince them to consider the frontage of the property in case the vote fails and they can't go where they want to go. I don't know if they will accept that for a lot of reasons. One is they want it to be next to a community center and have that available to their employees, which may not happen now if we don't have the vote go our way. But they could choose to go to the front. If they go to the front, and we've already sold the front, we have a little, you can't sell it twice. You can, but guys go to jail for that. So we got some homework to do, but maybe what I'd ask you to authorize me to do is to go back to Mr. Mosheri, get a better and clearer understanding of what it is he intends to do there, make sure it's working with Patrick, that it's consistent with the board's vision from the master plan for that district, and that it accomplishes the things we were hoping to accomplish. And then basically stick a pin in it. Where's George? Is George here? I thought he was
Yeah,
here.
he's there.
Okay, hey, George. Stick a pin in it until November 6th and see where we are with the Unicorn deal. because I don't want to be in a position where we can't get that property. And again, I can't guarantee you that they will take the frontage, because that upsets what they were trying to do. But if I give away the property now, then I know we've lost them. You know, I'd like to try to keep the options open. So my recommendation to you is to authorize me to negotiate further with Mrs. Mosherry, come back on November 6th with a recommendation, and make sure this is consistent with our master plan. It's a great price, I mean, there's no doubt. But we gotta make sure we don't kill the goose and lay the golden egg.
Is Mosherry willing to wait, until November 6th?
We can, Mr. Adams, you think if I held things up to November 6th, that would kill the offer by Mr. Mosherry?
I'm sorry, I don't hear well, I just got new hearing aids and they're not toned in yet. I'm sorry, what was the question?
If we do not accept the offer until November 6th, is that going to be a problem for the Mosherry companies?
Well, Mr. Mosherry is willing to work with the township in doing a PUD, and there's a lot of discussions. I think the property needs to be reappraised, for example, to make sure that, it's the right price, and he would just like to be on board and move forward.
Yeah. So we've got some work to do anyway.
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of work to do. There's a lot of talking and making sure that, the quality of what's ultimately going to be there is going to enhance the whole township. And if you look at some of the projects that Mr. Mosherry's done over the years, it's high quality. There's a assisted living called Blossom Ridge. If you guys want to look at it on the website, it's just fantastic. And that's what he's entitled to do there.
I appreciate it, George. All right, so that's my recommendation. Questions, comments? Motions?
So we're not, I just want to make sure, we're not saying that we're not necessarily entering into an agreement. This is just a little bit more due diligence, because I
You're
truly...
authorizing me to negotiate, because the other option would be to go out for bid, or third option is to do nothing. And I guess at this point, a negotiated sale might very well be in our favor if we can find somebody who's willing to do a PUD that accommodates the uses we wanted.
Do the people have a voice?
We are the people. You elected us. So I'm asking you to let me negotiate that arrangement and bring something back to you. So you're under no commitment other than allowing me to have a negotiation instead of a bid process. A bid process, you can go out, but then you're going to be subject to whatever the persons want to do there. It may not fit with the goals of the township.
So you're going to ask them for somewhat of a pre-site plan of the various
Concept.
uses in the PUD? Yes, the concept that they're looking at for the various uses for this site, is that correct?
That's correct.
Could we, if we decided to go out to bid, could you go out to bid with contingencies put against it, that it has to meet, we want to have assisted living, or you want to do this, or you want to do that? Could you put that in the bid?
Sure. When we do the bid packages, we put together the purchase agreement as a document in the bid package. So when the bidders come in, they're looking at the contract that's already been drafted. All they do is fill in an amount. So we would determine, what the due diligence period is, where we take it off the market, subject to planning commission approval, et cetera. So it's a pre-drafted agreement. But you'd have to tell them, of course, what those terms would be if you decide to bid it.
Which we could do. We can spend the next month exploring this with him, seeing if it's something alike, or we could spend the next month developing a draft agreement and put it out for bid. Those are two different approaches.
Or we could take a look what he has to offer. If we don't like it, then put it back out.
Right.
Was this offer unsolicited?
He came to us, George came to us and arranged a meeting.
Okay.
Who would do the appraisal on the property? Mr. Adams said the appraisal would be done. Who would be doing that? Oh, sorry, that's right.
I think that, why don't you let us negotiate that? I think that's one of the terms we would discuss. Let's see where he is, if you don't mind. let's see where he is on his concept. We may hate it. Let's go through that first, and then decide if there's further discussions we want to have. We're not committing to anything here. All I'm asking you to do is just authorize me to have the conversation. That's all.
If we're not committing to anything, and Mr. O'Leary and Mr. Adams want to come back with another plan at a future date, and the board decides without commitment today, then I would be in favor of it.
Yeah, we would definitely be coming back.
You know, Dan, I don't even know that you don't need board authorization to do what you want to do. Maybe to flip it around, unless the board has some objection to you talking to him, you can't bind the board anyway.
That's
So, you know, you could negotiate from now until, you know, the end of time, and you've still got to bring back a finite agreement for the board to vote on. So, I don't, you know, it's up to the board, but I don't think you need board approval to talk to somebody that's interested in our property. If they want to make a formal offer, they can make it. If that's the way you choose to get rid of the
My
property.
policy on land sales is I take every offer to the board because I don't want anyone thinking I'm doing things behind their back. So I'm taking this offer to you, but I'm recommending to you that I have further discussions before bringing something further to you to consider. And you still may say, go out to bid at that point. That's your option as a board. But let's see what the man has to say first, is all I'm saying.
I would say, given the reputation of Mr. O'Leary and Mr. Adams, I think we should go ahead and at least explore what he has to offer and then decide from there at that point before we put it out. So I guess I'm making a motion that allow Dan to negotiate, not a price, but an agreement to work out how this concept will work within the township and Mr. O'Leary, Mr. Adams' plans. Even though we don't need a motion.
To bring back to the township board for further consideration.
Thank you.
Yes. It's a motion by Mike. Do I have a second on that?
I'll support it.
Could I just make sure I got this right? Because I think I'm going to, if I could wordsmith
Okay.
a little bit with you. Maybe what you're saying, you want him to continue discussion with the O'Leary companies on a, for a community concept plan.
That's correct.
For
And then
this,
bring it back
and
to
bring
the
it back
board
to the
for
board.
vote.
Okay. You know, like Mr. Nicely, I too, I think to have the O'Leary company approach the township is a,
An honor.
yep, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Thank you.
Yep.
The motion was by Mike, supported by,
Nobody yet?
I support it.
Gary supported it.
thank you.
Questions? Roll call.
Nicely.
Yes.
Cop?
Yes.
Praviti?
Yes.
Babinski?
Yes.
Jacobson?
Yes.
Boshiers is a yes. O'Leary?
Yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the reappointment of the Cba members. Mike Polad, who's served this township in many capacities very capably, has a great history of governmental service and been on the ZBA for a while now, and has at times chaired committees for us, is up on his ZBA, as is Ben Pollock. Ben has served very capably. Both men are gentlemen. They know how to treat the public. They're very judicious. They read their package. They go to the site. They make sure they understand what they're doing before they vote. Quality people. Their terms ended in September. We have to make an appointment before the next ZBA meeting. And so I'm asking you to reappoint them both to the ZBA for another 3-year term effective September 19th. They expired the 19th, I believe.
I'll support or make that motion if you want.
I'll make it and you support it. How's
Okay.
that? There we go. Any questions? Roll call?
Is O'Leary and Babinski?
Yes, it is.
Sure. O'Leary?
Yes.
Babinski?
Yes.
Cop?
Yes.
Nicely?
Yes.
Praviti?
Yes.
Jacobson?
Yes.
And Boshiers is a yes.
Motion carries. Thank you all for volunteering. Next item is the elected officials update. The sewer pipe is rapidly making its way towards M53. Mike, are you there? Yes, you are. What day do we think it will be on the cusp of M53 on the east side?
It stops raining Monday, Tuesday next week.
Okay, so next week. So that's rocking along, and then we'll bore under M53, and we'll start dealing with the west side. Todd and myself and folks from Romeo and the county all met regarding the stoplight at 29 and Jewel. Had a healthy conversation. The issues at hand were, do you put it in with A-cell, D-cell lanes going east for the future, or do you just put it in? And I think we all agreed, look, let's just get it in. They're preparing cost estimates. They're going to do something, and then we'll figure out how to divvy it up. I have made the recommendation, and I told them it was subject to board approval, that the three entities share that cost of that light. But let's see if everybody else agrees with that. And if we get a contract out of them, then I'll bring it to you for your consideration. We also met with the county on the overall traffic study and the impact of various developments, including the Lombardo PUD and all those other things, and how they interact with the other PUDs on the south side of 26 Mile and Shelby, and what they do to that 26-mile corridor and the Jewel Road and Shaner corridors. Had a healthy discussion about it. County is going to arrange a meeting with the developers, and we'll have a discussion about how to remedy some situations that might arise as a result of those projects. Had a discussion with Darrell Raz and Justin Raz regarding the Planning Commission decision, which I think they were rejected 5-2 on their apartment complex up on the north end of town. They were asking where to go from here. It's my understanding that the Planning Commission is just making a recommendation. They are not the deciding body. We are. So that project has to come to us. And they asked for my advice, and I said, I can't speak for the board. I said, you have to make a call as to whether you want to come or not. But you are asking the replay referee to reverse the call in the field, which is a challenge, right? I mean, the experts have made a decision, and you're asking us to reverse that call. So you've got to show that this PUD is worthy. And he's thinking through his options, and we'll see where he winds up with that. And good news is we are not Macomb Township, who just pass on a 9% water rate increase to their customers, and Chesterfield is also passing on very large increases to their customers. And as you learned in our last meeting, we are not frozen for basically, I think we're up 0.5% in 4 years or something like that. And we're projecting being frozen for the next 5 years in our water rates. So
Why is that?
because of the water tower that we built. That was a wise investment. That was much maligned, but was the right thing to do. And other towns are struggling, and it's, they haven't made that investment, and, I think you'll start to see the tide turn, in terms of who's the most expensive and who's not. That's all I had. Anyone else on the board have anything else?
Absentee ballots, we're actually going to mail our first group. We're taking it to the post office tomorrow. There's approximately 2,300 absentee ballots going out in tomorrow's mail. So you should expect to see those probably Saturday to Monday if you're on the permanent absentee list and you've requested one at this point. Remember, you can continue to request an absentee up to the Friday before election, and you can continue to register to vote and get your ballot up till Election Day. The Township Clerk's office will be open the Saturday before election, which is November 2nd, from 7:30 a.m. till 3:30 p.m. to help assist. Other thing I'd like to tell you is that we did get from the Sons of the American Revolution, which I think is very nice. We talked about it last week. There was the grave rededication for Richard Jersey, and the Sons of the American Revolution recognized the township for the assistance that we provided. I thought that was very, very nice of them. I did enjoy, and I want to say to everybody, if you haven't seen the new high school, I was part of the group that went to that day, and I thought it was just an awesome experience. So thank you very much. I thought you had a very wonderful ceremony. I thought it was a class act, and it is truly a pleasure to be in that school. So thank you very much.
Any other elected officials with an update?
This one's not an update, but I do Meals on Wheels twice a week, and I had the opportunity on Friday to meet a lady who was born in 1918. She's 101 years old as of August 26th, which I thought was pretty amazing. So I went back and said, okay, what would the houses cost in 1918? $3,200. A car was $2,000. Gas was 15 cents. A first-class stamp was 2 cents. And there was no minimum wage because it didn't start till 1938, but somebody said she on the news that she earned $6 a week. So if you know Anita Wiseman, even though it's belated, make sure you wish her a happy birthday at 101 years old. I thought that was pretty amazing. So
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Anita.
Anyone else? KB, correspondence?
None.
Comments from audience? You're hip there. You in a hurry? Gotta go to the bathroom.
Good evening, Dan Dutkowski, Washington Township, Miller Road. Well, here we go again. Another positive asset for the residents of Washington Township and another rebellion from the same group of opposing people. At this point in time, hasn't it become rather obvious that it isn't exactly about the issue at hand? This is the problem, but rather the motive of the people disparaging it. It doesn't matter if the issue is a water tower, a new fire station, a wastewater treatment plant, a Meijer store, or even now a community center that upsets the same group of naysayers. The only issue for them is how favorably these valuable improvements makes our supervisor look. These positive steps have been proof of the professional and fiscally responsible leadership in Washington Township. Not only does this irate this group of people, but it outshines and surpasses the performance of leaderships in neighboring communities. Clearly, some of these leaders are among others who have not kept their pathological hatred for Dan O'Leary quiet. The smear campaigns against his personal and professional character has been disgusting on social media Facebook. Facebook pages have been created with the sole purpose of ruining him. Why? Because this very small group of people has a personal vendetta against Dan O'Leary, and they want others to join them in their malicious game. Through years of repulsive and extremely immature personal attacks, Dan O'Leary continues to push forward. Why? Because he is more dedicated to investing in what is right for Washington Township citizens than to give in to this small group of people whose intimidation measures have not broken him down. With the support of the majority of the Washington Township Board, elected officials, they have proven they have been worthy of the votes the citizens have cast for them. It isn't difficult to recognize who is among the same small group of people who have now chosen to condemn this community center proposal and its benefit for the residents of Washington Township.
30 seconds, Dan.
They are,
30 seconds,
again, using their money, deception, falsehoods, and trickery to assure that a yes vote does not occur. It is very easy to see who is at the forefront of their directives. Just watch the narrative given at the Bruce Township meeting from a year ago, and the actual motive of this group becomes apparently clear. I urge the voters of Washington Township to base their opinion on the proposed community center based on its merit rather than fall victim to yet another personally motivated smear campaign attack against Dan O'Leary, led by the people who want nothing more than to rejoice in his defeat. Thank you.
Right on time.
Dave? Name and address, if you don't mind.
My name is Dave Jaye. I've had a home in Washington Township for the last 27 years.
As with Dan, we'll stick to
And
the
this is
3
my
minutes
wife,
for
Catherine
everybody.
Park. And now for the rest of the story. Dan, I don't hate you. I admire and respect you. We've met and agreed, and on this issue we disagree. You've said that we're not buying a business, that we're buying the land and the building. However, your fee appraiser on page 26 of the 111-page report says, as a matter of fact, Total Soccer has entered into a 5-year lease with Total Soccer Wixom from 7 in the morning to 11 at night on Saturday, 7 in the morning until 10 at night on Sunday. Dan, with ownership comes a responsibility. We're buying a business. Actually, you want us to, but a number of us don't. Secondly is a trustee said that the master plan establishes value. That's hogwash. People have a master plan to lose weight, to eat less junk food, to clean their garage. A master plan is an idea, a goal. However, state law requires that a business or homeowner that's appealing their property taxes must submit evidence and establish a specific value of their property. Total Sports established their value at $5.4 million. The Washington Township Board of Review agreed at $5.4 million. You, as the Township Board, by state law, have the authority to overturn or adjust that valuation. You did not. Now, a few months later, you want to buy it for $11.5 million. And actually, you're buying it for $1 million more because there's $1 million of health and safety imperatives, obligations, not a point in negotiation, as you suggested, Mr. Supervisor. Handicap access parking is not a point in negotiation. Sewers is not a point of negotiation. Having access roads is not a point of negotiation. Also on the website, USATaxfighters.org, I have the temporary occupancy permit. It appears that Total Soccer was operating from May 15, 2018 to September 5th without an occupancy permit because this is retroactive, 16 months. And so in addition to these other imperative required improvements before a business should even be opening, they also require to have maintenance bonds they failed to provide for paving, underground and utilities maintenance, an engineering report for the floor and footings, and other special reports. So
30 seconds, Dave.
It's $12 million. We have a difference of opinion. I have not besmirched people personally, but my wife and I would prefer to spend our money on our grandchildren than on Total Sports for the next 20 years. And by the way, she'd be happy to show you the grandbaby pictures if you have some time. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Next up. Next up. Name and address, please.
Do you need my name again? Yeah. Peggy DeVos. Okay. All right. During the last presentation at Township meeting, Dan O'Leary stated that the cost from the ICC was $200 a square foot, when in actuality is $175
Speak up just a little.
per square foot. But let me understand what it takes to build a business for $200 a square foot, and Total Soccer is not it. The actual cost to build a building of a block and steel construction is less than $40 a square foot. In doing research, I found out that these building types of structures are built from $18 to $40 in square foot. This is including all the codes, mechanical, electrical, fire, etc. Another one is reference that I got was from an engineer that lives in our township. He has built several buildings, and he is an engineer. He has recently completed a 225 square foot building with all the mechanical, electrical information with to code for $7 million at $27 per square foot. In accordance with the senior associate of Industrial Investments of Signature and Associates, a large property sales firm. Building construction rates are at a high right now at $125 a square foot, but this reflects actually a brick and mortar type building, not a steel and metal type building. This price also reflects a high-end build-out with several bays and dockings that would require for code purposes. So it is not nearly the $200 a square foot that Dan is claiming. My question is, why has anybody on the board besides Sam Pravini questioned or investigated the numbers and the sources of Dan's information? But the real actual cost, let's talk about that. The building permits actually said it was $5 million. People lie, but not by millions. According to the Total Sports' own financial backer, the cost was estimated between $7 and $8 million. According to the banks, they are only willing to loan the amount money based on the banker's appraisal. So let's say that the total building of Total Soccer was $5.5 million, including the land. Let's give them $2 million for that, for the water, sewer, and the purchase of the land. That makes it $7.5 million, which is what, on average, the financial backer said. So who is actually lying about the cost? Is it you, is it the bank, or is it the owner? Our board is offering to spend money and pay money more than the building is willing to. I say we go back and reprogram this. On another note, I would like to make the township people aware that it is not us, but the board, who is willing to disband the Park and Recreation in 2020. I recommend to save the Park and Recreations with the fund through the end of December and speak up and tell the board that we will not stand for the dismemberment of our tri community. Thank you.
Thank you. Well timed. Next up, sir.
Jeff Romeo, 68343 Winchester Court, Washington, Michigan.
Jeff, how do you spell your last name?
Could you spell your last name for me?
Lewno.
Lewno. Thank you.
Let me open by stating my opinion. This appears to be a poor deal to me. I don't disagree that we need a community center and a Parks and Rec. That's very clear. But this doesn't strike me as a valuable deal to us. And here's where I'm going with this. You claim this is a great deal. Where's your comparison with new build data? And in your new build data, I don't really think the township needs an enclosed soccer field. That's a lot of additional square feet that doesn't do much except for the soccer field. And as we just heard, the soccer field is rented out on Fridays or Saturdays and Sundays to an outside corporation, so we don't have any access to it as residents and as players here. So where's the purchase agreement with Total Soccer Wixom? I'd like to see that. Put it up on the board so everybody can see it. Where's the appraisal of the Total Sports land and building? Where is that? I've not seen it. I've asked. What is a minimum of 3 estimates for construction of a new building of 117,000 square feet that is basically a shed? Where's the quote for the new greenfield building on the land you want to sell to Morsi? You just put that out today, and I'm asking, we've got 55 acres there. If we put a new building on there that's purpose-built that we want, do we not get what we want? Instead, we're looking at buying a building and retrofitting it, a building that's way overpriced. And I'm the engineer that was talked to about that. And typically, you can build a building like Total Soccer, and I've been in it, for well less than $40 a square foot. Further, there's no insulation in that building, so we as the township will be paying the utilities. What's that going to run? Is there a plan for upgrading the building? Is there a plan for the overhead sprinklers that aren't in there? Where is this plan? I'd just like to see it. And part of it is everybody's arguing left or right. The hyperbole is big. Just put all the facts out there, the facts, not the opinions, the facts. Show us the paperwork. What is the breakdown of the cost to retrofit the building? You know, we're obviously going to change it. It's not going to stay a soccer field. Why do we need Total Sports building at all? It's the largest portion of the cost. What's included with the contract with Total Sports, with the subcontract with Total Soccer Wixom, includes everything from liabilities and fixtures. And I'll leave you a copy of this. These are questions.
30 seconds.
Since Total Soccer has fulfilled the use of the field and the shed every weekend, we're essentially buying a shed with a field for Wixom at taxpayers' expense. I might add until 2022 with a 5-year extension. That's half the millage term, and we don't have access to that field on the weekends, which is when people want to use it. Will we still be paying the schools for facility use? And are you aware that that building that holds the indoor soccer field doesn't meet FIFA regulations? So it's not even a regulation soccer field. That's all I got.
You can drop off the sheet. You can email it to me if you like.
Thank you, sir.
Watch your step. Don't fall off the edge here. Next up, Michelle?
there. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Michelle Milam, 7319 Sawgrass Drive, Washington Township, Michigan.
Michelle, I'd like to speak up a little bit more.
You've never accused me of being quiet before.
I'm just trying to be helpful.
Okay, so get the timer out. Okay, so in talking about the property and potentially negotiating, I say to avoid the conflict and avoid the naysayers and the crazies, just put it out to bid at the appropriate time, then we don't have to worry about this and all the crazies that go along with it. Do you get what I'm saying there?
No, well, go ahead. This is your time to speak.
Well, I'm asking you, that would avoid some of the problems. If we would put the land out for bid, then we wouldn't have the problems like we had the last time. That's what I'm trying to say in a nice, kind way.
55 acres.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say in a very kind way. Another kind-spirited way, I would like to ask you if we could have equal time on WBRW to kind of discuss. You've got the one side of the yays. Why don't we have a discussion of the nays of why we don't want the total soccer?
Continue. This is your time to speak.
I'm asking you a question. Would you like and entertain the idea where we could have some equal time on WBRW to explore the other side of the coin?
Like I said, this is your time to speak. I'll address whatever you'd like me to address when it's my
Well,
time to speak. Go ahead.
It's already been denied.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it was denied. How is it denied? Was it denied? Can you just give me that?
I understand it was.
Okay, so
Your turn to speak. Time's
we get 3 minutes to talk about what we need to talk about. You can't come back and forth, and you can't go on public TV. Okay, I got the rules now. All right, I'll get a little bit more to the point. So I'm a no vote, and I'm not a no vote because I don't want to see you succeed. You know that I've tried to help you anytime I could. I keep my personal feelings aside. Remember, I did run for supervisor, and I only ran because no one else would. I put my ballot in at 5 p.m. on the very last day. It wasn't my goal to do that. I did it because of the bad behavior. You cleaned up your act for a while, and now we're at bad behavior again. What happened at the last meeting where you told the man, what's your voter record? Go back to Korea, or what have you done lately? It's not 1984. Count to 10, where your coworkers here have to tell you those things. That's the reason I ran for this office, because of your behavior. That's the same reason that I'm going to run for this office again if somebody else doesn't. Now, if you do the right thing, I will not run for office. But if you don't do the right thing and start treating people with respect, I absolutely will. Because I'm going to tell you, I beat you on election day, and I only lost in those mysterious absentee ballots, and I guarantee you this time I won't make that mistake. So either do the right thing or pay the pauper, meaning I will be up your you-know-what.
Thank you. Nice to see respect brought to the Township Hall. Anybody else want to speak? Come on, folks. There's a lot of folks here. I know you want to speak. It's all right. Come on up. 2.
Ruth, you got to move quicker. Sorry? You got to move quicker.
Hi. Hi, Sue Heyer, Glenwood Trail, Washington, Michigan. I thought it was interesting tonight that the superintendent of schools, the first thing he talked about was, with the sinking fund money and the non-homestead millage money, was the safety and security of children. Hopefully, we will be able to partner with the schools, with the new community center, and offer a safe place for children to go after school, plan some after-school activities for them. It is evident from the scenario Mr. Dukowski defined that there is a group of people, and in their quest to destroy Supervisor O'Leary, they are denying our citizens, and in particular our children, what is beneficial for them. Thanks to the majority of board members for voting to invest in Washington Township families.
Next up, anybody else? Ruth?
I won't follow that one either. Ruth Heiderbreck, 354 Salem Drive South, Romeo, Michigan. I am a Washington resident and also a Village resident.
I think I came here. Washington Township North, remember?
Not North.
You said, I'm just teasing, you know.
I'm still Washington Township. Would prefer not to be called Romeo South, so thank you for remembering that, just Kathy. I was at the meeting and I spoke, and I only have 3 minutes, so I'm going to talk fast. I was very disturbed of the behavior of the last meeting. It's not about you, Dan, and if you want to, some of your people want to say that it's about you. It's not about you. It's about your behavior. and how you address the people that you answer to. So I only have a few statements. Our tax dollars pay for this board to sit here. We do not feel at this point, and it's not a small group, and it's not a small group of divisive, manipulative people. And you need to keep your people, just like you do us, in line when we're trying to talk. We are not a small group. Your community is trying to speak to you guys right now. You need to listen to both sides. That's all we're asking you to look for both sides. Attacking and berating a board member that we put in place is not your place. Your place is to take care of that in board meetings. And to come start that meeting with, he's being sued, Sam's being sued. It's a cease and desist. And a lot of people in this room have had those cease and desists. It's a warning, and you brought it up like it was a major thing because you don't like the fact that he is an admin of a Facebook page where people share ideas, thoughts, and opinions. You don't like that. Are we going to put up with this?
Keep going, guys.
If you do come up with if you came swinging about the lawsuit, we just ask that you don't target your board members. You don't target any of your other board members for any other their others' decisions. But because he voted for the people and not the way you wanted to, you chose to target him. And please don't tell me
30 seconds, Ruth.
Okay. Please don't tell me that you're angry because there's misinformation being passed on Facebook because you and your committees are passing on misinformation. To create a sign that says, vote yes for Parks and Rec, I'm voting no for Parks and Rec because I love our Parks and Rec. I think they do a good job. I only have 3 minutes. And we should have an opinion. Nice bell. Nice bell. We should have an opinion. And we want that opinion. It's not about you, Dan. It's about our community. And the same people get up here and talk because other people are afraid to. It's not a group. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else?
I just have a quick question.
Watch your step.
Hi, my name's Zena. I live in Washington Township. I wanted to know, is it true that if we vote no, that we will not have a community center for Washington and Bruce Township any longer? Is this true?
If you vote no, there is no Park and Rec millage after next year. I can tell you today that I intend to call a vote of this board to decide if this goes down, to do another .75 mil to keep the millages the same and keep a Washington Township Parks and Rec. But this board, not the people, the board has the contractual right to negotiate arrangements, and I'm going to recommend to the board that that be a Washington Township Parks and Rec only, and if we can run it more efficiently with a Washington Township focus, with events in Washington Township, and that's if this millage goes down. So
what happens
I guess what I'm recommending,
what happens to Romeo's community center?
They can do what they see as fit with that. What I'm trying to help people understand is, voting no on this proposal does not mean we're still in business with Bruce Township. I intend to call a vote, and let's see where it goes, to end that relationship. It is caustic, it is unfair to the Washington Township residents, it is taxation without proper representation, and frankly, we don't get the services from Romeo Parks and Rec that we could get on our own. So
Well, your area maybe, but we're all there. We're all right there by the high school.
I'm
We
letting you know
use
what
it.
your question was, which is, if this fails, 1 year from now, we have no Park and Rec unless we put a new millage out there, and I intend to propose that new millage as a Washington Township Parks and Rec, period, which will address everybody from 32 to 26 Mile Road, except for the carved-out village of Romeo from, the 1/2 square mile that's there. So Applewood Valley, Wingate, Copperwood Commons, they would all be part of the new Washington Parks and Rec with a Washington Township focus. That's going to be my recommendation to the board, and we'll see where the board goes. But don't vote against this proposal just because you think you're saving the relationship, because what I'm telling you is, expect that relationship to end. I do.
No, I plan on voting no because I'm just not happy with the numbers.
I understand. We're going to deal with this proposal, sir, and then we'll see what happens. Okay. Who's next? Bob Hart.
Good evening. Bob Hart. I live at 188 Tilson Street in Washington Township in the village of Romeo. I'm also a village trustee. And the first thing I'd want to say, there's been 3 occasions that I've been here. The first was with WBRW and being opposed to that split, with the library and opposed to what was happening with the library, and then now with this issue. So it really is more of trying to keep the community together. And I have my business in just half a mile down the street, and then I live in the village and in Washington. So it is unique in that capacity. The original idea, I thought it was great. Total Sports is going to be there and build a Parks and Rec facility that would be next to it. Didn't realize that I know there was some planning, but nothing was planned with Parks and Rec. It was kind of a separate thing. But that would have had some real good synergy, I would have thought. Having a commercial place that we could use to have venues, they talked about graduations being there and those type of things. We could rent it for all of those type of things. That building is not a building that I believe that if you had the choice that you'd be able to build. I think it was something that just came across very quickly. I don't want to say Total Sports is failing, but if that was the case and I was looking to purchase, I would wait and to see where that goes and buy it from the bank at a reduced rate. But we do have the property that's next to that. I would still like to see the community stay together because I had a meeting. We asked Clara Russell, who's the director of the chamber, to meet, or the chamber with the Parks and Rec, to meet with us. We were all going to meet. A couple times it was canceled within about an hour of us meeting with Romeo to see how we were going to move forward. I was kind of taken back that she was never brought into any of those type of conversations. But one of the things we talked about is like dance. There's a huge dance that's happening in the community center up in Romeo. Those kids don't want to be split. They go to school all together, they grow up together, and they like being in Parks and Rec together. And that's the thing that I think is the synergy. To sit there and say, I'm sorry, you're this side of 32 or that side of 32. The village is actually being split right in half. So the Morton Center that is right in my backyard is no longer one that I'd be funding unless I want to pay a non-residence fee. I would like this to fail, so maybe we can come back, take a relook at this. The politicalness of this is really, I see it as being the supervisor of one township and a clerk of the other through Facebook that can't stand each other. They're going to be gone at some point, but we're going to be left with the aftermath. I would like to have this kept together. I think there's value to that. Thank you.
Thanks. Next up. Ma'am.
Cindy Knight, Hillside Lane. I got involved in this because I did not like the abuse that Total Sports was taking. I'm not a political person. The attacking that I took online, the attacking on a site that I joined in 2011 because I thought it was a Washington Township page, not a tri-community page. That's why I joined. I sold a lot of houses in Washington, sent a lot of people there, and they've had to deal with this abuse from these people. I am like appalled at the amount of negativity. You don't answer somebody, I'm trying to work, you don't answer someone, and I get this negative stuff going on towards me. Sam, I don't want to knock you, but you knew full well that I was not involved in that transaction, and I know it was brought up at the meeting. That was very upsetting to me. I'm not kidding, 15, 16 people coming at me. How much money are you making? What are you spending your money on? I mean, really? It was absurd. Over this, I've never seen in my whole 22 years here this much argument over something that I think is good for this township. If the Washington Township members or residents cannot have something of their own, I just am appalled at the amount of negativity. It just, like, you want to work as neighbors, but you're not working as neighbors. I really just do not get that. And the documentation that I've been able to find online, and I seen today, it was the fire suppression, and I know I went over this on the site, the fire suppression. We know that this portion of the building is covered and that portion isn't covered, but it keeps coming up. Today it was, or yesterday it was the documentation for the contracts. They're outside. No, they're not outside. It's on the inside. We're talking about a 5-year contract. The contract's already been 2 years. We have another year, so we're going to actually have 2 years. I mean, people, look at the facts. In my business, we have to look at the facts. This property, and you can see it from what was offered today on that property, what that property is worth. And it really upsets me that people are telling me I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, I usually do not get involved in politics, and I don't usually get up and speak, and my husband will tell you that. But it has just been really
30
wrong
seconds, Cindy.
in neighborhoods. Neighbors, this is not how neighbors act.
Thank you, ma'am. If I could just clarify one point, Chief, could you take the hot seat just for 30 seconds?
Did you say chief?
Unfortunately, you do, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Total soccer,
Yes.
fire suppression, in violation of the law, right? Absolutely unsafe building, nobody should be there, right?
No.
Thank you.
You want me to elaborate?
Yes.
This building was scrutinized by design professionals through the whole architectural design, stamped drawings. It was scrutinized by our building department, who are highly educated and certified. My fire marshal, a certified plans examiner through NFPA in the state of Michigan with hundreds of hours of experience. My fire inspectors all stamped those drawings. Site visit. Third party, specializing in fire suppression and fire alarms, signed off on the suppression and the fire alarm system. This is a very safe building. My fire department would never allow anything to be occupied that is otherwise. It is partially sprinkled per the 2006 IFC, 2009 IFC, and the 2015 IFC based on the construction and use classification. Non-spectator athletic venue.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, Dina, you already had your chance. We've got Marilyn in the back there. Oh, don't leave. Marilyn?
Just wanted to say that I don't think that we would have all this bickering going on between yes and no and all this if this board would have been a little more transparent, give us what we want, the information we want to see, and you quit changing it. From August 7th to today, things that you had on the board up to 24 months to 5 years, now we're miraculously going to get it right away and there's no timeline. So that is why I am voting no, because there's no transparency, there's no plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Anyone else? All right, let's...
I think you got one more.
Sir?
So for the record, my name is Mike Kamenskis. I'm at 57613 Lillian Drive in Washington Township. I voted for this project when Total Sports, when they came in as a private entity. I welcomed it. I thought it was great for the community as a tournament venue. Bring all the soccer clubs there, all the football clubs. It was great.
Mike, get close to the mic, will you?
But what are we getting now? For a community center, we're getting 23 fields, one of them which is indoor. They wanted volleyball courts. That's not a community center. Community centers where you can take your kids. Community centers where you can drop them off, put them in some recreational program. Why you go work out? A community centers somewhere you can work out, go swimming, go for a run, maybe get some other community involvement stuff in there, some pillow polo, some dodgeball, whatever. That's a community center. This doesn't have a pool. We don't have a track. We got an indoor field, which people say they can walk on, but if it's rented from Saturday morning to Sunday night, and all the peak times, you're not walking there as a track to exercise. You're just not. The soccer game, you can't even sit on the sideline of that game and do anything. So I'm voting no because I love the Parks and Rec. I love the Parks and Rec the way it is, with Bruce and Romeo and Washington. And Dan, I voted for every single person up here. More than once, some of them. But I don't agree that this is a community center. I don't come out and I don't talk at these things. I've been a resident for, 14 years in Washington Township. I don't do this. I'm not a political guy. But I do not agree that rushing in to buying something like this is a community center. You have an option. If you want to buy it, you want to turn around and sell it, propose that to us. Show us those numbers. Show us what it's going to cost to build out. Show us the plan. Give us some architectural drawings and say, here's where your pool's going to go, and the track's going to do this. But to just throw little Google drops on top of a map isn't right. And what I propose is that we scratch this off the ballot and that we bring it back to the board and get the proper planning and the numbers and the costs associated with it. We're raising a millage to buy out a property. But that doesn't have anything to do with the funding on the back end. To bring whatever that, I don't know who these people are you talk about in this group. I'm sorry, but I'm not one of them. The $600,000 or whatever it costs to bring up this unit to do it, put that in there. Show
30
me.
seconds, Mike.
Just show me. Show me the facts. Show me numbers. I'm dealing with FOIA documents that have appraisals and temp certs and all these different things that nobody can refute. Not one person. Because you guys will not show us facts. You guys will not show us numbers. You guys cannot do that. And until you can, I love my Parks and Rec. I vote no.
Hey, Rick.
Hey there, guys. Rick Giffen, 57199 Rosevere Drive, Washington Township. I'm just wondering, through all this, separate of everything online, everything we're hearing here through many of these meetings now, is there a way to take a poll of just Washington Township residents that say that the millage fails, and then you say that you intend to take a vote of the board here to see if they still want to be a part of Parks and Rec as it is, or go off and have Washington do its own thing? Is there a way to take some kind of, through the township, some kind of poll of the residents of just Washington Township to see if that's something that your constituents, that we as constituents, it goes by majority as a whole, want to do to break away from Parks and Rec as it is, or, have Washington create its own Parks and Rec?
Amen. Appreciate the comment. This is not voting for who's the best singer on American Idol, okay? We elect officials, okay, to run your township. And these trustees go out and they talk to people and they find out what the people think, and they are responsible for bringing that feedback back here and making business decisions. We enter into contracts every week. We enter into 1,000 decisions a week. We do not conduct public opinion polls for every one of those decisions. You know when the public opinion poll is? Election day. If you are dissatisfied with this board's performance, that's the time to do it. And I understand that that means sometimes you're going to be upset by a decision made. I have made everyone in this community mad at one point or another, I'm sure. Hopefully people judge us by the body of our work, not by the one decision they disagree with. I'm in this community a lot. I know what people think about Parks and Rec. I know what they think about the tri-community relationship, the people I speak to. And I think I represent them well when I say it's time for Washington to have better. We cannot continue to let Washington Township residents get less than what they deserve because we're tied to a 50-year-old or a 30-year-old concept that never changes. I wish I could have had the chance to speak at the school opening. I'm taking your time. I won't do that.
I paused it.
Good. Go ahead, Rick.
No,
I apologize. I shouldn't have taken your time. You do your thing.
No, that's all I want to express and ask, because I don't understand completely how it works. I've never spoken in front of you guys before or anything.
It's a fair question, and I didn't mean to take your time. So if
that's
you got
fine.
more to say.
No, that's all I had, was just wondering if there was a way for the actual residents and constituents to see what they think, other than maybe just, I don't know how you guys hear what you hear, other than, out on the road hearing. So,
I understand.
At least currently, so, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. I appreciate the comments, and I honestly think at the September 18th meeting, a lot of these issues were addressed, and I don't want to belabor that for the audience, because most of the people have seen that. I think anyone can judge for themselves whether those facts were right or not. Anyone can judge whether $40 a square foot or $20 a square foot for that building is reasonable or not. I have my experts. It's not Dan O'Leary. I have my experts.
That's it.
People can, make their own decision. That's the whole thing that we're dealing with here. You go make your decision. This board made a decision to put this before you. The board unanimously thought it was a good deal at the time the vote was made, and then we put it before you. You have to decide whether or not you think it's a good deal. I think it's a great deal. I think the land value alone is tremendous. I think we've proven that over and over and over again. But you got to decide. So go decide. That's what November 5th is all about. And, if anyone thinks this is Dan O'Leary's project, we got 7 board members up here who take the time to make these decisions. We've got experts sitting on the side, engineers, planners, building officials, and so on, who are advising us in these decisions. And you just got to make your decision as to where you are. That's okay. We'll live with it. But get the facts. I am encouraging everyone, don't get your facts from Facebook, because you are really getting a lot of misinformation. Somebody says, well, I think this. Well, that's what you think. What's the facts? And the next person totally contradicts it. Next thing you know, everybody's so confused they don't know what to believe. The township has put on their website a fact sheet, FAQ sheet. Go look at it. It talks about the valuation issues. Public comments over, Peggy. Thank you. It talks about the issues. It allows you to go in and get the perspective from the experts who have analyzed this deal. And go look at it. Take a look. See if you buy it or not. If you don't buy it, vote no. That's okay. But get the facts and the information. Somebody was talking about the field, and the field is rented out forever. All the fields outside are rented out. No, they're not. The indoor field is rented 2 days a week during only the winter months, and we're getting $250,000 for turning on the lights each year. And that's helping to finance this deal, and that's why you take that large soccer field. The outdoor fields are not rented out, right? But that's the kind of misinformation that's out there, and in all honesty, some of it's just legitimate people trying to understand what they're reading, and some of it is people feeding that misinformation, right? Because they know when people are confused about something, they vote no. Don't be one of those people. Form your own opinion, look at the fact sheet, come in and ask questions. There's a lot of talk on Facebook, but the experts are sitting at this table and over at that table. Come in and ask questions. It's okay. We're not going to bite. If you vote no, you vote no. If you vote yes, great. We'll do our best to make it work. So do what you got to do. November 5th, everyone should vote regardless of your position.
There were a lot of facts presented tonight.
And like I said, most of those were addressed at the last board meeting and on the fact sheet. And I encourage everyone to watch the September 18th meeting. I'm proud of my performance. Go watch the September 18th meeting and see the truth and see the valuation issues and the appraisal issues and all the things that have been raised. It was all addressed.
Where is the appraisal sheet?
Just watch the meeting and then come in and FOIA it. Come in and get it. It's available to you. You're the public. You can get it.
So USATFs.org is on my website.
He's got it. Hope he has the whole thing, not just the one piece that Maryland was. So that's where we are today. You get to decide. And it's okay if you say no. But do it based on information. There really are people deliberately feeding you misinformation. If you get the right information and you still say, not for me, that's okay. I'm only asking that you do it based on the right information. And Facebook is a cancer. It's a cancer. It's the coloring book of information sources. Please, go to the website, talk to the experts, come in and talk to us. We will make the time for you. We know it's a busy month and everyone's got to have to make a decision. Come on in. We'll talk to you, and if we don't make you think it's a good deal, fine. That's your call. That's your call. We work for you. Appreciate it if you'd come on in. That's that. Community announcements. There's some things going on. There is, please pay attention to this one, because this is good stuff. There's an eco-friendly landscaping and water quality workshop Tuesday, October 15th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the MSU Extension. That's on Dunham Road in Clinton Township. It's $8 a person. If you pre-register, $10 if you come in after. So you can go to, that's a long website. Just call me if you want to know more about it, and I'll get you in the right spot. And then we've got one more somewhere on my pages of stuff here. Bear with me. Oh, here we go. We got a master composter course. Boy, we could use some compost in this community right about now. 6-week class starts Thursday, October 3rd, which is tomorrow, and goes through November 14th. No class on Halloween. 6:30 to 9 p.m., MSU Extension Assembly Room on Dunham Road. And it'll talk about backyard composting and that sort of thing. And this really, no lie, this stuff these are really good courses. I'd appreciate if some folks would sign up. And if you don't remember it, just give me it. This one is course cost. This one's $50, but you get a manual and all that. So, but if you want to go, give me a call. I'll get you to the right place. Any other announcements?
I have one. Just tomorrow, the 42nd District Court is going to have an open house there. I know this will air later, but for all of you here in the audience, if you're not aware of it, it's at the 42nd District Court. It's from 5 o'clock till 7. Tour the courthouse, meet some of the people from the community. The judge and the magistrate will be there, and it's a great opportunity. I'm taking the kids from the club to experience that as well. I've done it just about every year, so encourage you to go out there and check that out too.
I've got two. If you get a chance, the Romeo Watchdog game is this week. It's an opportunity for the kids who play the sport to raise money for cancer. It all goes to cancer research, so they all have to earn their jerseys that you're going to see them wear. They will not be playing with their names on the back. They're going to be playing with those people who they are honoring or in memory of. So if you go to the game, you won't see Jack Smith. You're going to see Grandma Smith or somebody on there like that. So if you get an opportunity, that's this Friday, and it's the annual Watchdog game. This is the 10th year they've had that there. And then this coming Sunday is the fire station open house, and I think it's noon till 3. Noon to 3. So if you get an opportunity to come see our fine ladies and gentlemen in the fire station, that's at Station 1, noon to 3 on Sunday.
Anyone else? Board?
This is not a community announcement, but I just want to say that I am in favor of this community center. I have done the time. I've gone to Minnesota. We've done research. You may not feel we have it. We're providing what we can provide. There's still unanswered questions that we don't know about what's happening, but we're working on it. We're trying to do the best. I know it's changed. The school is a perfect example. When they wanted to change the school from up there at 32 Mile Road down to here, the community went crazy. Why? They're just changing the school location. Nothing else changed. The name didn't switch. Nothing else changed. If you see the excitement on the kids, the teachers, the administrators, on what's out there, this is the same thing that we can have for our community, and no one's excluded. The neighboring communities are all welcome. We're trying to do something that'll have a greater facility. You can disagree. I got a neighbor across the street. She doesn't use it now. She's going to vote no. That's okay. I don't argue with her about it. She doesn't use it. She doesn't want it. That's all right. We're trying to furnish you what we can with the facts. I hope you go out and vote. Whatever way you vote, we'll live with it. We'll move on. That's all I have to say.
I went out last weekend on Saturday, I believe it was. Shelby had their open house at their community center. I drove out there at 1 o'clock. You could not find a parking spot. They took the parking across the street. They parked in all of the commercial parking spots. The police were out there directing traffic. They had no idea that they were going to get this kind of participation. It went on until 3 o'clock. I doubled back at 2:30 and finally got a parking spot to go in there. They're calling it the Shelby Activities Center, I believe it is. It's got a basketball court. It's got 6 rooms. Most of the rooms have nothing in them but lounge chairs, maybe a couple TVs. One room's got a few computers in it. And they're calling it a activity center for seniors, adults, and kids. I think it's 28,000 square feet. It does have a 1 baseball diamond out in the back, and it does have some land. I think it's on an 8-acre chunk of property. Now, is that what you want? I heard comments, oh, I want someplace to take the kids, I want a pool, I want this and that. They have an activity center where they basically have rooms. So the kids can go in and whittle, play euchre. I don't know what they're going to wind up doing over there. But what we're proposing here, and it's not ready for prime time, and I said that at the last board meeting, that this is not a turnkey opportunity for us. This is something that we're going to, if the voters approve it, buy it and start making changes to it in such a way as it becomes a community center. But the target audience is the community, and it will be, the focus will be the center. So I hope you folks don't get upset by the fact that this is not something that if we buy it tomorrow, it's going to be the be-all, end-all, because that's not the case. There's phases that are going to go through in terms of the inside of the park, or inside of the building, outside, as far as you can't walk inside the building on the weekends. We plan on having a track on the outside that you can walk at. Probably not in the wintertime, but be that as it may, there's all kinds of activities that we're planning and rooms that you can go into and do the senior things and do the adult things and do the kid things. So again, this is not something that's turnkey. This is something that we're going to grow into. And I think the board has laid out all the funding for this. We know where the money's coming from. We know where the money's going. We know when the money's going to get spent. I heard some people say, just give me the plan. Well, we do have a plan. It's probably some of it's locked upstairs in the computer, and some of it is already written down. But we know what we're planning on doing. Do we have solid costs? No. Do we have an architect that has designed a building for us? No. We haven't done that yet until somebody says, okay, we agree with this plan, buy the building, then we're going to go through all the legwork on adjusting all the rooms and where they're going and who's going to be what and where. But to do that right now really is just a waste of residents' money. We don't want to do it until you guys approve it. If you don't approve it, well, the opportunity goes away. Is there an opportunity to buy land and build something else? Not for what we're paying for the square footage on this. So if you want to downsize the building, maybe we can get a 28,000 square foot building with a single gym and 6 rooms in it. That'll be your community center. But be that as it may, I'm for this. I think it's the right thing to do for the community. And vote on November the 5th.
Anyone else?
Mr. O'Leary, may I ask a question?
Can I ask you a favor? Can you save it to the next meeting? Public comment's over, and we...
No, it's not a comment. I'd like to hear from a trustee that I never get to hear from because I'm totally blocked from anything he says on Facebook. So I'd like to know his opinion on this.
I understand where you're going, but can we, let's keep the peace. I got to ask one favor of y'all, please. People talk about community, but they use the word only when it's convenient to them. And what's been going on the last 2 months since this board chose to put an opportunity before you is appalling and shameful. And it's a small group that stirred it, and a lot of good people that fell into the trap, started fighting with each other. You saw good people I know who are on the opposite sides of this fight with each other in a very inappropriate way. That's not acceptable. It's not what community is all about. We need to rise above, make a decision, and move on. That's okay. Change is difficult. I would have said this at the school opening had they allowed me to speak, but they didn't want me to speak because I speak too much. Change is difficult. And change is difficult. They teach you a lot of things in school. They teach you physics. They teach you all kinds of stuff. No one teaches you how to manage and deal with change. And yes, this is a lot of this is folks who don't want the change because this is the way we've always done it on the north end. And we want this relationship because that's the way we've always had it. We're not in charge of history. I sat at that school opening and watched one of my colleagues gushing over a picture from 1950 when the other high school opened as if that was the topic of the day, and it's not. The topic of the day is the future. It's those kids who are going to use that school and enjoy it into the future. And if we can get people's heads out of the past and focus on performing great for the community for the future, people will see the value of this. This is about tomorrow, and it's about Washington Township residents and our neighbors, if they choose, having great things for the future. Change is tough. Takes courage. But when you go through it, you find out you get a lot more going for you than if you just stick in the past and live in the past. So,
this is not about change. This is about a bad
public
business
comments over.
decision.
Public comments over. Thank you for your time. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Boshiers, supported by Mr. Kopp. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate your comments.